Richard Lanning and my Uncle Bob Lanning, and they're going to talk a little bit about some family stories.
This is a continuation, Rich, of the Lanning history. It's
That's
up
right.
to you.
One thing I thought it would be nice to hear about is sort of the sequence of where you all lived when you were growing up, because I always hear about various places, but I never have quite gotten the sequence in mind. And then maybe based on that sequence, we could kind of go through and talk about the highlights of those places.
I can tell you what I remember. I was born in Washington, D.C. First baby of 1918.
January 1st.
I don't remember much after that for quite a while. Then we lived in Norfolk, Virginia. And I was very, very young one time when a dirigible came in and blew up right in front of us while my mother was visiting the Naval Hospital there. That's an impression that stands out of my memory, and I remember very little else about it except that dirigible blew up.
But you remember seeing that happen or just hearing about it?
I saw it.
Oh boy.
The next thing I remember was we lived in Haiti. And to start out with, we lived in a large plantation house, which a major Haitian plantation owner had owned. Beautiful place with had a quarter-mile semicircular drive with royal palm trees and roses planted in the area. Had a swimming pool, had lots of servants, tile floors, veranda all around it, and so forth.
How old were you at that time?
Yeah, we were about 4 or 5.
Oh.
And the problem there was that our father started out with a big old automobile he brought down from the United States. And driving between there and Cape Haitian, he used up the automobile, and then he used up 2 or 3 Fords. And he finally figured he running out of cars, he had to move in closer to town. One thing I do remember there, but one of my aunts thought I was a daughter. And she sent me as a birthday present a bottle of perfume. The most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I loved it. And my father was totally disgusted with this whole thing. How could a guy love a bottle of perfume? I did. I kept it on my pillow, and one morning I woke up in an absolute, just terribly sad. The thing had fallen onto the tile floor and broken. My perfume was scattered all over the tile. Then we moved into into Cape Haitian itself. There was a house that Dr. Baker, his predecessor, had lived in. And it was high on a hill. It was on stilts. And it was close to the Marine barracks there, which was fortunate in that that's why my dad was there. Dr. Baker was a great big, wonderful guy, and he had a soft heart for dogs. When we got there were 19 dogs in residence, and they were fed out of the slop of the Marine barracks. There was something like 100 steps from the garage area up to our house. And the dogs...
You were way up on a hill, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The dogs used to race up and down these steps to greet visitors, and more than one visitor, seeing this horde of dogs coming yapping out of it, driven away. More of terror. At one point, I remember we depended for certain groceries on a cruiser. We used to come down to Haiti, and it brought Clem, which was the form of milk we had. And it failed to come, so my dad went and bought a goat. And you can't just buy one goat, you got to buy 2 goats to keep the other one making milk. And the boy goat got so accustomed to this that he thought he was a dog. Except that he could run up downstairs faster than the dog, so when this crowd of animals came up and down those 100 steps, it was the goat always in the lead. I remember the large blue crabs used to come wandering through the Irish throat, and we had snakes, lots of snakes around. no poison snakes, but lots of snakes.
Mhm.
And one night, it was one characteristic of this house was that it was built on a concrete base, and in the bathroom there was a gap between the wall and the concrete base. And one early one morning, my dad went in to go to the bathroom. They turned on the light, and here was a large python-like snake in there. He got his sword and tore at that python like the avenging angel. My mother woke up with this thrashing around and couldn't figure out what the hell it was. She reached for a pistol which she kept under her pillow. Walked in there, and here was my dad covered with blood, snake blood. When he got through with this, the snake was gone, and he put the sword back in the scabbard into the sequel of this story. Many years later, we were in San Diego. Dad was the chief surgeon at the Naval Hospital there, and President Truman was coming to inspect the troops. And they got all lined up like in military formation with the top. I always thought it was pretty silly anyhow for a surgeon to line up like a bunch of sergeants. But anyhow, in front of the troops, and when it come time to salute the president with a sword, he pulled and finally came out with just nothing but the handle. The other had rusted into the scabbard because of his blood. And everybody else got a big laugh out of this whole thing.
Well, President Truman was president then. When we were there, Roosevelt was the president.
Was it Roosevelt? I see.
At least a president with a good sense of humor, hopefully.
Yeah, right,
Maybe it was Truman, Senator Truman.
Yeah, probably.
Senator Truman was making his.
Yeah.
Then Mother, all this heat and all these children, Mother was wearing down, so Pop decided she should have summers off. So we got a summer place up in Piercy.
Where?
Kenscott. Piercy is the top of the mountain.
Fiercy.
This is in Haiti.
Yes. How do you spell it? Do anybody know?
F-I-E-R-C-Y.
Ah.
And near Kenscott, K-E-N-S-K-O-L.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, I was up in Alpine territory, and I usually remember what a thrill it was to go up there. And up in really those pine trees and non-tropical stuff. And one time we were up there, and somebody burned down the kitchen. That was sure why we had to abandon that. And then Pop decided that Mother needed help. Well, among Pop's friends in town were a French couple, a very nice French couple. Joffre, I think the name was, Joffre. I think that was the name. Anyhow, and also a German nurse, German extraction. The Germans were there because they had been on the verge of taking over Haiti because of debts, and that's why the Americans went down there to keep the Germans out. But this German nurse was there. She was a very effective nurse and attractive woman. And I think Mom was a little jealous of her, but anyhow, this nurse suggested that a friend of hers back in Germany was the wonderful violin-playing daughter of a very highly placed German family, who after World War II was in dire straits, and that maybe Pop should hire her to come and help Mother take care of the kids.
After World War I.
Well, after World War I, yes.
Miss Bonnie. Well, my mother was against that, but Pop prevailed. Miss Bonnie arrived, and she was a very attractive young lady, very high-strung. She was an expert violinist. Mm-hmm. And for a while, she and Mother would play together. Mother's piano was out porch, subject to Haitian weather, which didn't do it any good. But they played together and all that sort of thing, and that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the heat was getting to Miss Bonnie, and all kinds of weird things were happening. For example, one night, the goat got in through the screen porch and was walking up and down the piano keys in a way that modern Miss Bonnie no end, and she also almost went hysterical on this one. And Miss Bonnie taught my sister Margie violin. She tried to teach me violin, and she got so irked with me, she whacked me with a violin bow, and I whacked her back, and that ended my violin. My sister Margie she was smart. She was so smart. I was in awe of her. She was a year or so behind me and ahead of me in every other way. And so finally, when it came time for us to go back to the States, Miss Bonnie wanted to come to the States, but her mother wouldn't have it. Father would send her back to Germany. While Dad was there, he spent his weekends. He back of a big car. He had a tank full of salvage sandwich. Salvage sandwich useful in treating yaws and syphilis. And I had about half the base population had one or the other. But he drove out in
Or both.
Or both.
He drove out in the countryside, and it turns out that throughout that portion of Haiti, there are a bunch of Catholic priests that had been sent out to Haiti, and many of these had been chaplains in the French army during the War of 1870, and were fascinating people who would come out to Haiti and built their own churches and their own manses. And one took a particular shine to me, Père Coconut. He was a wonderful person.
My godfather.
Your godfather.
Père Coconut was my godfather.
How do you spell coconut?
C-O-L something.
Yeah, he was not-
C-O-L-C-O-N-A-P.
Huh.
Coconut.
Coconut. Huh.
And he used to stand on me on his knee and tell me stories. And he had the most wonderful memories of Paris. He just loved Paris. It was his fondest memory. He had a book about this long, full of pictures of Paris. That's what he mooned over. Well, he showed me these, and I liked them so much, so he told me that when he died, he would will me this book. And he did. Many years later, I received this book in the mail.
And you have it now, don't you?
But
You have it now.
I think I have it someplace.
Uh-huh.
A lot of stuff I've got, I don't know where it is. Now, as to education, there was a French lady who was teaching school, and so my mother decided she had taught for a while with the Baltimore methods that Lucy's been using.
Oh.
At home.
Yes,
Homeschool?
the homeschooling,
Davis.
no,
Got
Cal,
the name of it, but anyhow.
not Calvin, Calvary,
I think it's Calvin Davis. Calvin?
Well,
no,
she-
it's not Davis.
No?
She did that for a while.
Calvert. It's the Calvert system, sorry.
She heard about this lady,
Yeah.
French lady, starting school, so she put me in it and Margie in it. And of course, Margie did fine, but this lady she became very upset with me. She said I was sex mad.
Sex mad?
Yeah, because I looked at the girls, and I looked at girls. I've always looked at girls. And she decided this
What
wouldn't do
age?
it. My father heard about that, and he said, "My God, take her out of that goddamn place." And I was so relieved because I couldn't stand this person. So it turns out that in the hospital there was a bunch of monks, and they helped him by one of them kept Friar Cesar kept track of Pop's instruments, kept them sharp and clean, so forth. And Pop would drive by his place every day on his way to the hospital. So he drove me in there, left me off, and Friar Cesar acted as my tutor. And I lived with him. He had his own vegetable garden. He made his own olive oil and his own wine and vinegar and stuff like that, so I could do that. And he taught me all in French, mathematics and history and French writing. And the result of that was, what I did was I eventually got back to the States. We went back to Charleston, South Carolina. And I went into the grade. And I was way ahead in mathematics. But of course I was behind in English. But my first teacher in Charleston was a Sister Immaculata. She's a lovely young lady and with a patient, a wonderful, saintly patient. She needed. I was talking about a Sister Immaculata, the lovely sister, and she had a lot of patience because French is a language that's much more precise than English, and so as the teacher would say something, I would ask her, "Do you mean this, this, or this?" You know, and she would patiently answer me. All of a sudden, Sister Immaculata wasn't there anymore. Sister Rita was a pig. The most disgusting woman I've ever run into in my life. And she had no patience at all, and I drove her nuts. And then one day we were all supposed to go over to church, and the bishop was going to go by, and we were supposed to kiss the bishop's ring. Well, I wasn't about to kiss the ring that everybody else did.
Yeah.
With germs and all that. And this was deeply resented by Sister Rita. She complained with my mother now that what an awful boy I was. My father again said, "Take him out of that goddamn place." Looked at him, enormously relieved, and they put me in with a little private school in Maryland run by Miss Carolyn, and Charleston run by Miss Carolyn Amar.
Yeah, here comes. Let me see if I can.
Hello.
Hello, are we taping?
Yes, we're taping. This is Mom arriving home. This is Aunt Alice reading the newspaper. Bella greeting Mom.
Your picture's being taken.
Wave for the camera. Thank you. Okay. Let me put this on pause for a second. Doesn't want to go on pause. Okay. We're rearrange the camera again here. Okay, we're still recording, so you can proceed.
Now, let me go back to Haiti again. Something Dad did there was he built hospitals. He built 3 or 4 of them. And to finance these hospitals, he helped, with the help of the local gentry, he held what they call fetes, which were like county fairs, this sort of thing. And the proceeds went toward the hospital. This French couple here is very artistic, and they were very good at that, and they were very helpful. But he built these hospitals, and he became known up in Port-au-Prince for this hospital business too. And had to go up there now and then. There was a Navy flyer who used to come down and fly bad up to Port-au-Prince. It was very difficult to get there otherwise. And he loved to scare Pop. He loved to turn the plane upside down. Well, at one point, Pop needed an X-ray machine worth about $80,000. And so he written to Washington, and he gotten the approval of 80,000 bucks, and it was going to be sent to him. So he went and ordered the X-ray, and the X-ray machine came, and he installed it in the hospital. And then the money got as far as Port-au-Prince, but somebody up there grabbed a hold of it and used it for mowing lawns or some nefarious purpose, and left Pop in debt 80,000 bucks. Well, he was in no position to handle 80,000 bucks, so he decided, well, since it's for the community anyhow, he just robbed the community. So we had a driver. He had a big black man, Jeffrey, who drove Pop in this big car he had, and this was announced ahead of time. But he robbed the bank, he robbed some stores and so forth. So on, he got 80,000 bucks and paid this thing off.
He put on a bandana and
Yes, he was dressed like a Western thief.
bandit.
And the whole thing was treated with some mirth in it, but he got away with it. Then when it came time to come back to the United States, we were going to go back on a boat called the Kittery. And the Kittery was a flat-bottomed riverboat which had been captured from the Germans during World War I and was used for the Caribbean trips. And we put everybody in the Kittery, and it was pretty primitive living. And we got up off the tip of North Carolina there, Cape Hatteras. We ran into a storm, and that boat went every which way. There were people, the dining room was crashing, so forth, so on. Everybody got sick as dogs. We finally made it into Charleston.
Do you remember that, Uncle Bob, or were you still too young to remember?
I remember scenes, yeah.
Yeah.
We finally got to, the ship actually put into Norfolk. We were there for a little while, then went down to Charleston. And living in Charleston was interesting. I mentioned some of these school things went on. One of the interesting things to me in Charleston was that the quarters there were this open Navy Yard, and I finally got a bicycle. I'll never forget the thrill of first really ever riding my bicycle, but I could ride that all over that Charleston Navy Yard. And then it turns out the commanding officer of Charleston became an Admiral McCullough, who was a fascinating man who he looked like God. He had a beard and all that sort of thing. And as far as I'm concerned, he was God. And he had adopted 9 Russian children during the Russian Revolution. And the youngest was Tonishka, and she was a sweet girl. Next to Tonishka was Fyodor. Fyodor was a lot my age, and then there was Denishka, which was slightly older. And that's where the beautiful I felt madly in love with her. And there were the other kids there. But Fyodor and I got ourselves in all kinds of trouble. Mostly it's instigated by him, I think. But we had a lot of fun. We built teepees, we had tunnels, we lived like Indians, we had bows and arrows. We also built rafts, and we'd go down the Cooper River on these rafts like Tom Sawyer did. Now sometimes my mother was so busy, she'd let me loose for days at a time, which is fine with me. And we'd be on our own. We'd catch these crabs and cook them and eat them. Thoroughly enjoying that aspect of things. One time, it came the 4th of July. I'll never forgive myself for this one. Theodore decided that we should have
Go ahead, Mom, if you're trying to go by.
Theodore decided we should have a real fireworks display, so tied up at the Admiral's yacht, what they call Clorinda, in a pier near his house. And in the Clarinda there were very pistol cartridges, which are 10 gauge, and they're meant to be fired out of a pistol and indicate distress or this sort of thing would be out. Theodore didn't know all about that. Anyhow, he stole some of those very pistol cartridges. He borrowed his father's 10 gauge shotgun, which is a beautiful thing. Browning had been given to him by the King of Belgium. And I said, "You gonna shoot those things?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You dare?" He said, "Dares go first." So I put a couple of these things in that double barrel shotgun. I pulled the trigger and the goddamn explosion. These very pistols got out to the muzzle of this shotgun and exploded, and it just curled the metal back. Left me flat on my ass. Fire all over the place, sparks and stuff. And Theodore over the hill and running as fast as he could. leaving me with this whole bloody thing and hating myself because I loved the ammo and I had ruined his gun. And so finally I decided I've got to just go confess the ammo I did. And he was very nice about the whole thing. I think he even got a kick out of it, but it didn't. Theodore for a while was nowhere to be found. We were going to that little private school Miss Carolyn Amar ran. That was after my experience in Charleston. And Theodore and I conspired one time that we thought it'd be kind of fun. The girls had a little dressing room there, and they would come in, and the girls, when they always come in like this, you know, chippy, 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 and they ran in to do the dressing room. So we decided that'd be kind of fun. We'll put some squirrels in the dressing room. And as they opened the door, these squirrels came right over the top of them, and they squealed, and they thought that was fun. Miss Carolyn Amar lowered the boom on us. There was one other occasion where I got myself in trouble. We were making darts. You take a large matchstick and you split it and you put a phonograph needle in it. And it's amazing what you can do with those darts. Boy, they'll stick to anything. Well, I sat in the back room there and I was looking at the globe and I thought, you know, I thought I could hit that globe with a dart.
This was in your classroom? In your classroom?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I threw the dart, and just as I did, Miss Carolyn Amar bent over and hit her right in the butt. Well, I was devastated. And,
Did Miss Carolyn Amar know where it had come from?
oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
she was very forgiving. But she taught us well. I wasn't talking to Carolyn Amar.
Mm-hmm. Now, was it Theodora that you were with when you climbed up to the top of the crane and dropped the...
Oh yeah. We had another. There was a welding shop there, and they had big cans this big around this size full of calcium carbide. Calcium carbide, when mixed with water, forms acetylene, which is used in welding torches. Well, we got thinking, this is an asset we can use. And we had already gotten in trouble. There was a saluting gun next to the Clarinda, and a couple of Marine guards there. We snuck in and grabbed the saluting gun cartridge, put it in that, and pulled the trigger and fired the saluting gun, and the sergeant caught us right there.
Red-handed.
Red-handed. Well, we went through considerable punishment for that. And later on we decided this acetylene was a real asset. We should find something to do with that. So we came up with the idea that there were cannons all over that yard, and there was the senior officers lived on two parallel rows with green in between, and all these cannons in front of the houses, in front of the quarters. And these cannons were about this, the bore was about this big around and about 10 feet long, and a little hole in fuse hole in the back end of it. And I got thinking, well, you know, if we carefully put in this carbide in a can, put another can in there full of water, we should go all the way back. Then we put in a bunch of soil, carefully. And then if the things are over, get a soil, sudden shove, spill the carbide in the water, and something come out the fuse hole. Like that, you should blow the whole thing up. That's what we did. And it was little soil all over the cat in the yard's house.
Didn't destroy the cannon.
Oh, no. All the cats were taken by it. Loud noises were a lot of fun. And there were these cannonballs all over the place. We got thinking that's all sort of an asset. So that there were dry docks there. These big cranes reached over the dry dock. Each one of us took a 100-pound cannonball. I don't know how the hell we got it up. Got up to the end of this thing and let it go. And that was wonderful. And just after I let mine go, I asked myself, you know, I wonder if that thing's loaded with gunpowder. It occurred to me at that. It wasn't. But when it hit the bottom of the dry dock, there was a wonderful loud noise and it broke all of the parts. They were very happy day. But the only other trouble we got into was there's 300-foot radio towers here, and each steered the other to climb up to the top of the radio towers, and we did. And on the way down, the Marine Guard detected us, and he was going to raise hell with us. On the other hand, he didn't want it known that somebody had got up there before he found us. So he kept it quiet.
Dilemma.
Now it's time for you to talk now.
Oh no, go ahead. You're on a roll.
Now, how old were you in Charleston?
I was 4 to 7.
Uh-huh, okay, so you had memories of that. Yeah.
I've run out. You talk about it.
Well, I remember things about Haiti, but mainly scenes. Up in the mountains, I especially remember the smell of charcoal fires. I also remember an organ and a chapel up there. It was just a very small chapel. And Herr Coconut, who was my godfather, the church mentioned, I think accompanied us up there one time.
Yeah.
And one time coming down, the car we were in that Pop was driving turned over,
Ooh.
and
Oh,
his nose was stuck on the, I remember this, his nose was stuck on the horn until somebody pulled him out.
I remember that. Yeah.
Were you all in the car at the time?
Yeah,
Oh, my.
but to this day, I remember the sensation of a rollover.
Now that you mention it, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether we got back in the car and drove off. I can't remember that. Anyway, I also remember seeing Christoph's palace.
Oh
I
yeah.
also remember hearing that when he gave an order to his troops to start marching up on the top, he would frequently not tell them to halt until a couple of them had gone over the side.
And he did this because one time a British naval force came in there, and they were sort of scouting around to see if maybe they ought to take over Haiti, you know. And Christophe wanted to show them, my God, don't come to this way, we'll clobber you. So Christophe invited them up to his palace, and he told these people to march, and he didn't tell them to stop. They marched over the edge, and he did another thing. He had a palace based on what Louis XIV had in France, and it was almost as beautiful in his time. And he had troops pass in front of this palace in review, and the big shots standing there, and they'd go around and change uniform and come back again. And he marched past them all afternoon. And the British figured that this guy's got too much for us to handle, he left him alone.
Pretty smart. Well, other things I remember about Haiti was in the corners of the swimming pool were frogs' eggs,
Oh,
and they were streaming down.
yeah.
Huh,
I thought that was kind of fun.
yeah.
I also remember seeing lots of dogs. Now, I don't remember. I've subsequently heard where they came from.
Uh-huh. You do remember the goats?
No, the goats I remember were Charleston.
Charleston goats.
Charleston Pop got some goats to clean up a yard somewhere in front of the hospital because they ate everything, And I don't know what happened there, but I remember.
One of my best pets was a young goat. I loved that thing.
Yeah.
And what happened was there was a field of grass was afire. And this young goat was standing there all by itself, been abandoned by its mother because of the fire. So I grabbed the goat, took it home, and started feeding it with a bottle with a nipple.
Yeah, and I remember that too. I helped feed.
I
Uh-huh.
loved that little goat.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful pet to me. It loved to see me come back from school. One time it got jumping up and down, so I did a complete flip and then stood there surprised myself.
Now that was in Charleston?
Charleston.
In Charleston, right.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't remember much more about Charleston, except I do remember one thing. We were playing along the fence near our quarters, and we were throwing rocks at the cars going by. And when we saw a police car coming on the outside of the gate, outside the fence, whoever I was with ran and hid in the basement of some old building that was nearby. Anyway, we waited a long time before we went home. And then we heard about it. The
Oh,
police came around and talked to Mother or somebody. There were kids throwing rocks at cars. That's not the thing to do.
so they knew what was going on.
Yeah. As far as earlier is concerned, when we got into Norfolk, or sometime after that, we got into Norfolk. The only thing I remember about Norfolk was there was this ship. I guess it was embedded in concrete, but this ship was up on dry land. That made a great impression to me. I guess it was I later saw it. It was a training ship.
Yeah.
It was up on dry land.
Uh-huh. Could you go on it?
I don't.
they
We
were
didn't
never
stop. We just drove
Oh, I
past.
see. Just go past.
I also remember the trip up through Philadelphia where we stopped to see the bakers. And I'll never forget that this huge tribe of people had dinner, and I spilled my milk. And I was unable to get a second glass.
You were not awarded that.
Then we ended up in Maine.
Uh-huh.
You can tell them about Maine.
Well, yeah, Mother was being in Topeka down in out Charleston, so Pop decided we should have a summer place in Maine, so that we were at least a little cottage on the lake up there. And so we all go up. We had 2 cars, so Father Redden came on there, so it was a priest.
Father Redden.
Father Redden's a priest.
Uh-huh.
And they were an Irishman. Had a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
Wait till the plane.
Yeah. Hang on for a second. I'm not sure it'll pick you up because of the planes.
I remember the name Father Redden. He was a jolly old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one night, Mother and Father Redden and the ladies at Alder's Guild or something eating dinner. And Pop was there, but Pop was taking second place to Father Redden and the Ladies Guild. We got all through and Pop asked Father Redden whether he'd like some special cheese he had. Father Redden decided he would. So we had ice boxes in those days. When Pop went out to the ice box, and Mother made him keep that stinky cheese of his in a double container so it wouldn't smell of everything in the box.
Limburger cheese.
Limburger. Oh, boy.
So he came out with this Limburger cheese, gave some to the ladies always didn't want it, but he gave some to Father Redden and Pop had some. And I remember Pop says, well, Father Redden, how'd you like the cheese? Father Redden says, You know, I like the cheese. But I must say, I'd certainly rather eat it than step in it.
I've always heard that, but I thought that was Pop that said that.
Oh.
Well, Father Redden and we drove up to Maine. And Father Redden, all the way up there, knew somebody who had some alcohol. So Pop couldn't believe the United States was something so stupid as to go into prohibition. And so he found ways around it. And he had a bootlegger here and a bootlegger there, and he had a friend, Mr. Bostwick, who was a great help to him in Charleston. And so I remember when Father Redden we'd stop someplace for lunch. Turns out Father Redden knew somebody there. And he would give him a special conversation, and they would send the son out with a rake into the peach orchard, and he'd drag the rake till he heard something clink, and come back with a bottle. And Pacific, Pennsylvania, well, we got up to every 4th of July, the Salem starts big bonfires, and we were going to be at Salem for a bonfire, and it turns out that's when we called them the Kennedys. Father Redden knew the Kennedys, and he would because he's a bootlegger. And I remember that's when I met John Kennedy, Bob Kennedy, and John's older brother. And we went on up to Maine then, and we finally drove to this cabin. It was a pretty place on a little lake there, and there was a boat associated with an outboard engine, and having gotten there, Mother decided she'd better go in and buy some groceries. Well, she left, and Ginny and I were left at home. And I went down to the boat and was trying to figure out how to use the boat, how to start it and all that sort of thing. And Ginny stayed back by the house.
And where were the other kids at that time? They'd gone with your
What?
mom? Had the other children gone with your mother?
They were gone.
Uh-huh. It was just the two of you.
And
I think I was there too.
Oh, were you there too?
Yeah, I remember the fire.
Oh.
well, I think people came back to the fire. Mother was in the store, and she heard some other people talking about the fire, and somebody said, yes, some people from down south we understand. She said, Mother perked up to, oh, tell me more, and she went racing back. By the time they got back, the whole house was about this high. What had happened was that Jenny, for some reason, found a box with these light indoor matches, and she'd always wanted to build a little fire. And she didn't want anybody to see it, so she built it over the house.
And pine needles everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was down in the boat, and then Jenny started calling me, Rich. And I thought, oh, come on, what do you need, Jenny? She would come quick, and I thought, well, maybe it's a rattlesnake or something like that. I went racing up there, and here's this fire licking up the wall right by the kitchen. So I thought, oh my God. So I started hauling stuff out of there. And I got our baggage out. A lot of furniture I got out. I couldn't get the piano out. And I remember when the fire got the piano, it was going ding, 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 ding. And poor Jenny was just in deep remorse, I grabbed the fire extinguisher, I bet best I could with the fire extinguisher. I ran those out in a hurry. Some neighbors, just a little house a lot or so away, finally came up with a little fire extinguisher and squirted it on it, and I thought, they came so late, they didn't do anything. They just pissed me off. Anyhow, when the family got back, the whole house was about this high. And we went into a hotel in Portland that evening. put up there. Next morning, I remember Pop reaching into his suitcase to get a shirt, and it was singed. I hadn't gotten that suitcase quite far and away from the fire. He said, well, I sure got it in the neck, didn't I? So the only thing to do was to get in the car and come back to Chelsea. And it was quite
Pop was supposed to take a course in bronchoscopy
Oh, yeah.
by Dr. Clerf in Philadelphia. Dr. Clerf was his assistant.
Well, I was Dr. Chevalier Jackson.
Chevalier Jackson is his assistant. I still have the replica of the bronchoscope that I use. You know, Pop gave me this little thing that was every graduate of that course got.
I see.
It came in a little case with the bronchoscope and little pins and needles, the things that they would have taken out of people's trachea.
Huh.
Bronchi.
I remember when he got back, he practiced that day. Practice.
On whom? Whom did he practice on?
Yes, he had a set of tubes simulating throats and so forth.
I see. Okay.
Oh, and to take its place, two places we went. We went to Folly Beach sometime, and I got malaria there.
Ooh.
All I can remember about that is the taste of quinine and being dizzy all the time.
Hmm.
And then another place we went, instead of going to Maine, we went up to a farm somewhere near Hendersonville,
Henderson.
North or South Carolina, I guess.
Yeah,
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. I remember that.
I've been in Hendersonville since. And I learned something very important from the farm kid. The principle of the outlot.
The otlot?
Yeah. You take a long corn stalk like this, and you make a hole in one end of it, and you put a rock in that hole, and you can throw that thing much further than you could any other way. And then I learned that this is the principle of the outlot, which is an ancient weapon used back thousands of years before.
Well, one night, apparently going to the outhouse, I stepped on a snake.
Ooh.
And that produced a stir because they kept looking me all over to see if they saw fang marks or anything. There were rattlesnakes in that area,
Uh-huh.
but I think this was a big black snake, but it was pretty big.
Ooh.
As I recall, it was this big around.
Yeah.
But of course, I was a little boy. It was probably this big around.
Did you think you had been bitten?
No, I didn't think so.
Uh-huh. Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
But I didn't know.
Yeah.
They thought I may have been.
Yes.
On one of these trips, we stopped in to see Serena in Pennsylvania. And Serena had been having trouble with her husband. And I remember it was my job to go rap on the door of Serena's house. And Serena opened the door, and I was looking at 2 barrels of shotgun about that far away. And then Serena was mortified to find she thought it was her husband, and she was going to blow his head off.
That was the day before peepholes indoors, I guess.
Was that the place that was the first place she had in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't the final place she had. Okay.
Took a normal out of the final place.
Yeah, right. Now, what else? We went from Charleston to San Pedro. And I remember that trip across the country because it was by train.
I do
Huh?
too.
Yeah, I remember it very well because on the first day before we started, they got some seedless grapes. Never heard of seedless grapes before.
Uh-huh.
Got some, and I had been eating them, had washed, and then I laid them down on the rack up above, and Mother wouldn't let me eat any more because they probably got dirty being put up there on the rack.
Now, how old were each of you when you went to San Pedro?
Well, 1929, I was 7 years old.
29,
11.
11.
That was fun. I remember that trip. I had very romantic views about the West and the cowboys and such.
Oh, yeah.
Indians. We saw some.
Oh yeah, I woke up one early morning on the train. The train had stopped for water or something, and here was some teepees, and there were some Indians roaming around. I thought they were attacking the train.
Huh.
And then we got to California, San Pedro, and I remember we lived in a hotel for a while, and us kids, I don't know, it must have been George and me, locked ourselves in the bathroom.
On purpose or by accident?
Well, I don't know. We didn't have the key.
Oh.
Or, I don't know. Anyway, they had to call them. I think Dad and Mother were out, and they had to call the establishment to get us out of the bathroom. Later, I remember also, I started first grade, I guess, first or second grade. Anyway, in first grade, I flunked first grade. I couldn't see the blackboard, and I didn't realize I couldn't see the blackboard. The school nurse found that I needed glasses, and this was very embarrassing to Pop, to think that this doctor's son had to have a school nurse discover that I needed glasses. Anyway, so I got my glasses, and I remember thrilled because Pop then invited me and this school nurse to aboard the USS Relief for lunch one day. I think it was, I don't know what day of the week it was, I think it was Saturday. And we got on the captain's gig, you know, that beautiful little boat, drove us out there and took us back after lunch. I still remember what the operating room of the Relief looks like.
You were destined to be a doctor, Uncle Bob.
Well, I always thought I'd be a doctor then anyway.
Uh-huh.
Later I thought I might be a priest,
Oh.
but then I switched again.
Oh, good. Good thing.
That's other things I remember about Charleston. I
Yeah.
mean, San Pedro.
San Pedro.
One of our neighbors was Carl Zander. Carl Zander, yeah. And they lived they moved away, and they moved to Inglewood, which wasn't far away, but it seemed like far away
Uh-huh.
to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went to visit them in Inglewood. Also, Aunt Serena came because Ned was born there, and a bunch of us had measles.
Oops.
And so Mother couldn't come home from the hospital with Ned to the house full of measles.
Uh-huh.
So when all that, when everybody healed and Aunt Serena was still there, I remember going with her by train someplace in Los Angeles. I put up a big fuss, and she finally took me. You have other memories of San
In
Pedro.
San Pedro, I remember I got fascinated with chemistry. And I had a chemistry set, and I really got wrapped up in chemistry. And I read about nitroglycerin, and that sort of thing, and so I made some dynamite. And I dug a hole in the backyard and blew it up, and I blew a hole about 3 feet wide and about 2 feet deep. It made a lot of noise and spread dirt all over the place. And got away with it. Then something else that's fascinated me. If you take iodine crystals and you pour ammonia on it, you get ammonium iodide. The fascinating thing about that is when it dries, and the fascinating thing about that is it's a very sensitive explosive. So I would make some of these, and I'd leave little crystals around the place. And the slightest agitation will set off a puff, and a little purple cloud will come up from it. Well, I used to leave these things around the house, and Mother got fed up with this after a while. And another thing you can do is if you take a little pile of potassium permanganate, and you pour some glycerin on it, you make a volcano. Wonderful. You can change water to wine and that sort of thing. Like the red, that's fun. And then one day I got reading about black powder. And I made this black powder, but it was slow drying. I honestly don't know what my thinking was here when I put it on the stove to dry it a little faster. And you might have known that this stuff blew up and it left curly, greasy, black soot around the place. Got in everything. Mother was totally fed up. Another experience I had there was fun. Was I got fascinated with radio, and Jack Holmes was a friend of mine, lived across town. We knew each other in junior high school. And
This is San Pedro?
uh,
San Pedro?
yeah, and he and I used to dot and dash each other across town. We were both Boy Scouts by flashlight, and it was about 2 or 3 miles. We could still do it, all right. And I kept thinking, no, well, why don't we learn to do that by radio? Now, well, I was making a lot of money in those days. I tended lawn, I picked fruit up in Sepulveda Hills, picked tomatoes and carrots and stuff like that. I took care of lawns, I delivered papers, I delivered movie schedules, which meant that I could take a guest in any movie I wanted to at any time.
Oh my.
And I made more money then than I did later as an instant. I packed all this money away. And so I had to buy some stuff. So I was walking by this little store downtown one day and I saw this radio. There were 2 beautiful mahogany boxes, square boxes about that size. Transmitter and receiver. I go, gee, that's great. And it only cost me $15. So I bought the stuff, $15, and I hooked it up. And I was just getting started. I was going to set up Jack Holmes so he could receive me too. But I was experimenting with this thing, and all of a sudden there was a truck out in front of our house with some kind of an antenna out there. There was a knock on the door. Turns out I was doing something totally illegal, and the security and the communications security people were on me because the spark gap transmitter I had was about 20 years old and totally illegal. It made sparks. They were wonderful sparks, you know. The problem was that they covered all frequencies.
You were interfering with
And it bugged up radio signals for the whole town. Took like 15 months.
Hang on a second, Daddy, to let the plane pass. They're becoming closer and closer over the house, these planes. Go ahead.
Interested in chemistry. In grade school in San Pedro, I hadn't done very well. I did play soccer, and I had to wrestle a lot, so I was getting pretty strong. But I got in junior high school, and the chemistry, and had some fine teachers there, and I got the honor roll. I was part of the science club and that sort of thing, and that really picked me up. Then I started skipping grades, and I was really strong with that. And the chemistry student, and later on when I went up to Vallejo, and I was so far ahead in chemistry that I was assistant to the professor there, and sometimes he'd get sick, I'd teach the class. I may be a real nerd number 1. It was one day, another weird thing that happened to me one time. In junior high school in San Pedro, I was in woodworking class, and we had to make something simple. So what I made was a stick with a fork in one end. So it was useful in laundry work somehow. That was what I was told that. But it seemed a simple enough shape, and so I made one. And I probably sanded it down and surfaced and all that, and I'll take it home and brag to my mother. And we were standing at the school bus stop waiting to go up. And I was swinging this thing back and forth, and somehow I lost a grip on this thing. It flew through the air and broke a window. So I had to go confess to the lady there that I had broken the window. And I was necessary about it. I told my dad about it. He says, "You will pay for fixing the window." Yes, sir. I went down there and I paid for fixing the window. Another thing I was doing in San Pedro for a while, one of our neighbors ran a tuna cannery, a big tuna cannery, and I worked in the tuna cannery for a while. My job was to slit open tuna fish. Had a knife with a hook like this, and I stand about this conveyor belt and slit open the guts as they went by. And that arm got tired, I'd jump over the other side and do it this side. Come out smelling like a fish. And my mother wouldn't let me back in the house, so I had to make arrangements for a gas station nearby there to take a shower before I could go home. As a reward for what they were doing all this, I was allowed to take 2 tuna fishing cruises out in the Pacific. That was fun. And that's the first time I drank red wine with all these Portuguese. But we did catch these big tuna fish. That was a pastime. And I caddied at the golf course, and I carried triples. I could make $18 a day carrying triples for $4.19.29 before the crash.
You say carrying triples, you mean 3 bags?
3 bags.
At once?
And it did exhaust me sometimes, but money was what I was after. Picking fruit was kind of fun, and I was amazed how much money I could make picking fruit. How can they pay me this much? All I'm doing is picking tomatoes.
That was in San Pedro or Berkeley?
San Pedro.
Or,
Was it from San Pedro that you did all the hiking up in the mountains, or was that Vallejo?
That came later when I was in Vallejo.
Ah.
I climbed all the highest mountains in the Pacific when I was 15. And the fascinating way it turned out, it just so happened that if I were going to need help or something like that, the Sierra Club was there. And I happened to get the schedule so I could do the whole thing in one summer. All about down a mountain, Caterpillar in Mexico City. Fascinating.
Popocatépetl. There was a song by that name.
Oh,
Popocatépetl.
I didn't know that.
But you didn't go all the way down to Mexico City yourself.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my. I didn't know that.
I don't remember the city at all. I remember the mountain.
Yeah. And then how did you get home?
With friends.
Uh-huh. Drove back.
Yeah.
I see.
Another neighbor we had in San Pedro was he flew gliders and he made model planes. I made a couple of model planes. That was fun. And I remember they gave me a glider ride out on the desert sand a couple of times. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was not Van Zandt. I can't remember his name. Van Zandt was a tuba guy. Now you.
Well, of course, in San Pedro, well, I've already said about San Pedro. We got up to Mare Island. We had to stay at a hotel.
That was after San Pedro?
That was after San Pedro.
Okay.
So we were in Mare Island from 1931 to 35, was it? Or 34? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 35. Yeah. Pop was chief of surgery.
Mm-hmm.
We had a whole bunch of stuff we used to play on the, they were armor left over from battle cruisers that were supposed to have been built. But because of the Treaty of London, was it? Treaty of London? Disarmament Treaty after World War I, those ships were not built, and instead they built 2 aircraft carriers, the Lexington and the Saratoga. And later, Pop was aboard the Lexington. In fact, I still have his belt buckle from, it says USS Lexington on CV2. Anyway, that's later.
Uh-huh.
But in San Pedro, I went from Bay Terrace Grammar School to the Catholic School, St. Vincent's Catholic School. It was a nice school. There were a couple of nice nuns.
Uh-huh. Good.
I remember learning to wiggle my ears in church one time. I remember seeing King Kong.
Oh, yes.
And I had nightmares about King Kong coming up over the hill behind our house.
Oh, my.
At night, about a month after I saw the movie.
Uh-huh. Huh.
And we had our youngest brother, Ned, looked just like the Lindbergh baby.
Oh.
And Pop decided to get this collie dog, a wonderful dog. And I forget who the guy dog, but he was Pal. Iowa Pal was his official name, but Pal we called him.
And he was to protect...
He was to protect Ned, because Ned was allowed to roam around outside in the yard. Our yard was our quarters were 2 quarters just outside the gate to the hospital. There was a street that went down the hill from there, and people used to drive by and slow down and look at Ned, because it was obvious that he looked just like the pictures of the Lindbergh baby.
Uh-huh.
And so here was this dog that protected him.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, he was so smart that if he had left Ned and come home without Ned, Mother could tell that dog to go get Ned. And he would then stay with Ned until Ned came home.
I see.
And that was great.
Yeah. Huh.
And I did do some caddying in those days, and I hated it.
When we lived
Oh.
on our island, we were close to the Marine barracks there, and there was a swimming pool, very convenient, and a handball course. And I played handball to the point where I became a really good handball player. And I turned out beating many of the Marines at their own game. And also we swam a lot at the pool there, and that got my early experience swimming. But ever after that, I was good at handball, squash, racquetball, badminton, that kind of game. Later on, I was war college champion at squash, and I played around here. I played racquetball until I was 67 years old. I played 3 times a week. Great fun.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mare Island at that Marine pool is where I used to hang out and get very tan. And my haircut was always very short. And so my buddies used to come drape me with a blanket and call me Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
And I refused to learn how to swim until he threw me in the water one time.
Oh. And then you swim.
I felt bad about that because I screamed the whole time he was dragging me. But a tragedy happened there too.
Oh.
There was this friend of yours, I think, Rich, who was clowning around the swimming pool one day, and he was throwing a wet blanket, and it caught a electrical line.
Uh-oh.
He was
Electrocuted.
electrocuted.
Ooh.
They pulled him out of the water, and he didn't survive. He was a friend of yours, wasn't he?
That's surprising. Well, nowadays they wouldn't have electrical lines that close to the pool.
No, they wouldn't, but also they'd have, apparently the rescue squad had a full motor. It was brand new and nobody knew how to use it.
Oh.
And that's what I remember Pop saying. They didn't know how to use it and they didn't use it properly. And he may have survived because I understood that they used artificial respiration and he was beginning to pick up after 15, 20 minutes or something.
Uh-huh, huh,
But then he turned blue again when we put this thing on.
oh,
And I watched him do that.
Pop was an avid golfer,
mhm,
and he wanted me to become a golfer, and there was a Mr. Brabant was the old Englishman there who was a pro, and he's a wonderful old man. He'd been
I remember him.
sharp cricket player, but we set it up so that if I shagged balls when he was instructing people, if I went around and collected the balls, he'd give me free lessons. So I did, and he gave me free lessons. So I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And my objective was to beat Pop at golf. Well, I played him, a dozen times so, and I got so I had a long drive. I had a very long drive. One of the longest in the whole club.
mhm,
And I was strong as a hell in those days. A long drive, but Pop would always beat me in the short game. Well, one time there was a home and home tournament, and the president of the golf team was Colonel Rassico.
I remember that name.
And he was a stuffy kind of a guy. And but I came in there and I won the whole damn thing.
wow.
My drives were in, my short game were in, I beat my dad, I beat Rassico, I beat everyone. And I remember Rassico got to thinking, he wasn't sure he believed me. He thought maybe I cheated. Well, turned out that thinking this might happen, I had somebody double check me each time I wrote down score. That result was I won a set of matched Bobby Jones gloves. Which was a lot of money in those days.
Yeah.
And well, here I had the clubs, and I knew I wouldn't have time to play golf. And so I had better golf clubs than my dad had. Well, he was going to go up into Lexington somewhere for a long cruise. And I said, well, why don't you take these clubs? I'm not going to be playing golf. I don't have time for that. I'm going to do other things. Meantime, I was running track in high school, and I've been in one 14-mile race there, which I came in third after leading the whole way till the last 100 yards. And so he took these clubs and he went off on a long cruise. When we got back, he sheepishly approached me. He said he felt badly about this, but he sold the clubs. Why did he sell the clubs? Because he didn't have money for cigarettes. So I sold the clubs and bought a case of cigarettes. And I figured if I could provide my dad with a case of cigarettes, that's fine with me.
Oh, boy.
Meantime, while we were there, I was with Melvin Hall and Grant Mahoney, and I went up in the Yosemite, and we spent a lot of time up there. And that was during that summer that I was climbing all those mountains and things.
Mhm.
Grant Mahoney was a wonderful guy, very bright. Later on, he went into the aviation cadet program of the Air Force. It was one of the Flying Tigers over in China. Later on, integrated back into the Air Force. He was a lieutenant colonel as we tried to take the Philippines. And he spotted a seaplane on the surface, and he drove down, probably a trap, he drove down to get this seaplane, and they shot him down, and that's where it all Grant Mahoney. But he was one of the people I went to Yosemite with. Now your turn.
Oh, where are we? We still live in Berkeley. No, we were just moving to Berkeley. We lived at 2641 College Avenue.
This was after Vallejo?
This is after Vallejo.
Okay.
Rich was in the University of California, or had you just left? Yeah, you were in the University of California.
Uh-huh.
I was in Emerson Grammar School and then Willard Junior High there. And that was a great place.
Uh-huh.
There I learned to play tennis.
Tennis.
And yeah, Jen and I used to play tennis.
Huh.
And I remember Jen used to go up to the Claremont Tennis Club, and she used to play occasionally with Helen Wills Moody.
Yeah.
That was terrific. And I used to occasionally go up and bat balls with Ginny up at those courts, or more usually around the school.
I remember I played with her once, and she aced me every serve.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Berkeley was between 1935 and 37, and Brother George was on the football team, and we used to go up on Tightwad Hill to watch the University of California games, and this football team that George belonged to used to play during halftime.
Oh.
And that was fun.
Uh-huh.
But we used to also park our cars on the lawn at home. And we got money, and my mother allowed us to keep the money we made. But that's where I learned to drive, was on the driveway of that house.
Parking other people's cars.
And I remember, too, that the girls started calling up George.
Oh, yeah, George.
We were all impressed with the girls thought George was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was cute. George was the handsome one of all of us. Yeah, he really was.
He was.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it.
Well, Mother occasionally, I liked music along with as Mother did, and occasionally she would take me or allow me to take the train and then the ferry over to San Francisco. And I'd go to a concert or just let me go and roam around. I remember going to Luca's Restaurant. You remember Luca's Restaurant? Anyway, Luca's Restaurant, we had been once as a family, and the waiters would sing an opera while they served the meal.
Yeah. Lucas. Later on, the people raised the suspicion that maybe Lucas had been selling cat meat. Food was delicious.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was good. I think another time Pop came back from sea duty and was home on leave, and he took us all to a little bit of Sweden. I'll never forget, he was embarrassed because it was very expensive.
Oh.
And he had to scrounge around when it came time to pay the bill.
Oh.
Get mother get some change and all that stuff. But several things happened in Berkeley. One of which we went down to see Helen Wills Moody take off on her final flight. Well, it wasn't her final flight. Amelia Earhart, yeah. What did I say? Moody.
Yeah. Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, she took off on her.
And you saw her depart?
We saw her depart. Yeah.
One of the things that happened on Mare Island, I had become so good at handball, and I was not member of the YMCA, that I was invited to play in the YMCA's tournament in San Francisco. So the tournament lasted 4 or 5 days, and I was beating everybody. And generally speaking, I would take a central position, and I'd set it up so I had to keep my opponents running and beat the band. And I got all the way up to the top in the end of the finals there, and there was some old guy there that looked to me like a big old puss gut, and I figured, oh, clean, there's Clark. You know? That son of a bitch kept me about 2 feet off the ground, but he clobbered me. He did it so calmly.
His pipsqueak, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we watched the Golden Gate Bridge and the Bay Bridge being built
Oh my.
from Berkeley, and that was fun.
And up to that time, it was really only ferries that you
That's
could,
right,
the only way to
only
get over there.
ferries, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll also remember when they finally opened the Golden Gate Bridge, they started to paint it green. It had been red, you know.
yeah.
It was, and the clamor from people in Oakland side, Berkeley side, clamored. They liked that red bridge.
Oh,
So they painted it back red, and it's been red ever since.
huh. That's interesting.
Also, while in Berkeley, we made a summer trip to Bremerton. And that was quite a trip. We
Uh-huh.
Rich drove one car, and Mother drove the other. You drove Dr. Hayes' car, right?
And the pop was in Lexington. Lexington was up in Bremerton for overhaul. And Ruth was living there with her parents. And we had a cottage on the Hood Canal. Ruth, would you like to contribute to this story?
Okay, Mom. We'll have to get your story later. Okay.
The Hood Canal was fun. We had some interesting neighbors there. One neighbor, a nice young couple, lived in the next cottage. Name was Warehouser. He just happened to own all the trees in that whole area. In Tacoma, there was our second cousin who ran a candy store. And like we'd never known before. I used to swim across the Hood Canal every day, and we had a seal who became one of our pets. And the pal, the dog, and the seal would romp around together, barking and so forth and so on. And then there was a race, 10-mile race, and Jack Medica was the world champion in those days of distance swimming, and I remember he's shaped like an ape, and when he stood up, his hands reached about this far down his chin. With a 10-mile race, he swam. I came in second. By the time I got there, he'd showered and had dinner. By the time the third guy came in, I'd showered and had dinner.
My goodness.
And Jack Medica was my coach of the freshman swim team at the University of Pennsylvania in 1941.
Huh. That's fantastic.
Well, let's see. After Berkeley, then you went off to the Naval Academy, and we moved to San Diego. That's sea duty. As a matter of fact, just to catch you up on Pop's activity, after that, after his duty on the Lexington, he was transferred to a battleship that went on a midshipman cruise, or was it the opposite way around? Anyway, then the Spanish Civil War broke out.
Oklahoma.
The Oklahoma, that was it. Then they were transferred, all the midshipmen, when the Spanish Civil War broke out, to other ships. And the Oklahoma, because Pop was the only surgeon in the group, and they figured if they're going to take refugees from Spain, they would need a surgeon. So they started making rounds, picking up refugees from each of the ports. They would go down one side of Spain, up the other, and back again.
Huh.
And we have a set of letters from him written during that period that are really fascinating.
And somewhere I have a map that outlines the dates of all of the...
Did Cheryl get you the copy of those letters?
Yes, we have a copy. I haven't read them yet.
It might be interesting to get a copy of that letters to go with what you got here.
Yeah.
And one thing that fascinated me about those letters, they were so unlike the father I knew. They were warm and loving and so forth and so on. And the reason was, when I knew my father, he was, when I was living with him, he was a busy executive of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was off on the battleships, he was a man of leisure.
Yeah.
And he'd do me an appendectomy every other day, and the rest of the time he just had to go around and be charming, which he was, and loving it.
Uh-huh. Huh.
So then he got orders to be chief of surgery at San Diego, which was the greatest chief of surgery job in the Navy.
Uh-huh.
Biggest surgical service in the world, wasn't it? At that time?
Well, during World War II, it was the largest hospital in the world
Hmm.
and largest surgical service too.
Uh-huh.
But this was 1937 to 39
Uh-huh.
that he was in San Diego.
I see.
I was in high school by that time.
Mhm.
Rich was away,
Mhm.
and I remember he came back one summer, had a date with Ruth, and he didn't have any money, and I loaned him $10.
Yeah.
And he's never returned that $10.
Oh, my?
He offered subsequently to pay it back, and I said, no, I'm part of this romance.
Well, thank you for doing that. From my perspective, I really appreciate it.
I'll never forget, I took Ruth to a movie, and the movie was They Shall Have Music with the Asha Heifetz, and it was beautiful music. And we came out of there, and Ruth said she enjoyed the show, so forth and so on. And I was helping a little bit to teach Ruth how to drive, and I didn't realize till some later that Ruth is totally tone deaf, didn't give a damn for music.
But she had enjoyed the show, nonetheless. I see.
Well, other things, I learned to play tennis. I had been taking piano lessons in Berkeley. Mother decided, since I learned to play the Moonlight Sonata by ear, it's time to take some lessons. But by the time we got to San Diego, I was too interested in tennis and other things, so I gave up music. As a matter of fact, but I was on the track team at St. Augustine High School,
Mhm.
and I ran the cross country, and I came in first in my class.
Wow,
I still have my little medal.
wonderful. So really, none of the children ever got into music very seriously, did they? Yeah.
Ginny played for a while.
Did she?
And Margie taught herself how to play the violin.
Mhm.
Oh no, Miss Bonnie, and she taught herself how to play the piano. Margie was so smart. One of my problems was that Mother was a very exacting teacher, and she wanted more out of me and the piano than I was willing to give. There were too many trees that needed climbing for my.
Uh-huh.
But Mother was a very good musician.
Oh yeah.
And later on, much later on, I bought a turntable that had a variable speed. You could variable speed. And I bought some records, you know, the old-fashioned records that had concertos with the piano portion left out.
Oh.
So that I could then play these records and then I had a tape recorder, and I could then record both the background music and Mother's piano playing along with it.
Wow.
But I could have I could adjust the pitch.
Uh-huh.
You see, so the piano and the tape would be the same. Anyway,
Do you-
it's fun.
Do you still have those?
I do somewhere, but I have no idea
Uh-huh.
how they turned out. They're very old.
Mhm.
I did those after medical school,
I see.
so that's more than 50 years ago.
Uh-huh. Huh.
What happens to old tape recorders? Did they survive? I don't have a reel-to-reel tape machine anymore. Matter of fact.
I think you could find some place that will do that for you, but you probably have to.
As a matter of fact, speaking of that, Alice's sister bought a farm in New York, and up in the attic were some old 78 records that were this thick and recorded only on one side. And there are records of Madame Schumann Height, of Caruso, and a whole bunch of them. And I've always talked to people who work in the Smithsonian that I'd like to take them to them and ask them to record them the first time they play them, because you can't play those records with the instruments and the needles that you have today.
Uh-huh.
You would ruin those.
Yes.
So I just haven't done it yet.
Yes. Okay.
I used to collect records. I had 100 records of classical music, and it was one of my prizes. and they were going to Yorktown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was transferred to Yorktown, we were in Bermuda, and I had to fly to Canada. So I left the records on the Yorktown. I was going to pick them up later. Well, later, I went from Canada to Newport News and recommissioned the Hornet. Went around the Pacific, did the Battle of Midway. The Yorktown was lost, and with it, my records.
So your
500 records are down in the bottom of the damn ocean where they found them.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of pre-recorded tape too of classical music, and they're in my house.
Ah,
Costs a lot of money too.
yes. Now, they have located the Yorktown and taken a bunch of pictures underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, but times are getting to be
about time.
almost 5 o'clock.
Okay, we need to leave here. We have to be there at 6. Okay, probably takes
Leave here at at
5:15.
5:15.
5:15. Okay, maybe we should quit at 5:05 and give everybody 10 minutes to. Does that sound good? Okay, a few more minutes then.
So,
Now, where were you all living when Margie died
Mare Island.
in Mare Island?
She died in 1931. No, 33.
She was 13 years old.
Yeah, 33.
Okay.
I know that because the last time I was up at her gravesite, which is where Mother and Pop were buried.
In Arlington National
In
Cemetery.
Arlington. I read it off the tombstone.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Margie was, she was brilliant. She must have had an IQ of about 200. My golly.
I remember that too.
Hmm.
And she's a lovely person. Just
Oh,
very-
wonderful person.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in the 4th grade, I was in the 4th grade, and I think she was, I don't know whether they called her 4th grade or not, but she was ahead of me. She came back one time, and she was doing arithmetic, but using letters for crying out loud. And I thought arithmetic were numbers for crying out loud. She was doing algebra.
Yeah.
Really?
I hadn't heard of that.
But I remember her violin playing. It was absolutely beautiful.
Also, in her art, I remember in junior high school, her artwork was just so, everybody was so proud of it. The teachers were just ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic person.
Uh-huh.
I was in awe of her at every turn.
I think we all were.
Yeah.
Those of us who remember.
Yes. Yes.
Ned, of course, was only 2 years old.
Uh-huh. I see. So the distance between you, Daddy, and Ned was how many years?
11.
11 years.
Because Ned was born December 13th, 1929.
Okay.
And you were born January 1st, 1918.
18.
So it's actually 11, almost 12.
Almost 12 years.
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. People at different ends of the family tend to have quite different memories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Evan and Ned's memories of family were very different from mine. And this came out at the wedding down at Jenny's place. Ned was not a happy man in many ways, I think. He felt somehow left out.
He confided in me one time later that he was the unwanted child,
Huh.
which is absolutely false.
Uh-huh.
And we tried to convince him of that, but I don't know. Anyway, he was the most wanted child I ever knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because it was a hiatus between George and him.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Interesting.
And then when they lived in Winchester there, and he didn't see much of Pop. I remember feeling that I was about to go to graduate school out in Berkeley, and I felt that Ned was unhappy, that his situation was not very attractive, and it's all women's stuff. And he's pretty, and I said, well, look, why don't you come out with me? And it looks like he was going to enter the University of Utah. So why don't you drive with me out the West Coast? So he did. We had a lot of fun on the way out there.
Huh.
A few misadventures, like spending too much money in New Orleans, helping my classmate Roy Smallwood get over his depression, and spending a lot of money in restaurants. And then I figured, well, at some point we'll call Ruth and she'll send us some more, you know. So we head west, and we do such things as, I bought a couple of these packing blankets, you know, those things that packers use in trucks.
Those quilts, like packing quilts, kind of
Yeah.
like quilts, yeah, padded.
And we slept under those on the desert. And we bought canned food and ate it. And we saved a lot of money that way. Money to gas to get as far as, I think it was Reno or someplace out there, or maybe Albuquerque, anyhow. At which point, I had phoned Ruth and asked her to send us some money and to address it to the post office far west up to the telegraph place, Western Union, in the city ahead of time. And I'd asked for $100. Well, this request to New York on the weekend, Ruth sent Ruth and my mother in a tizzy, and they came up with $10. So we got to Western Union, here was this $10, and I wondered how in the hell are we going to get to California on $10? But you know we did it.
That's the trip. I was an intern for that trip, and one day I got a call. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something important, and they kept telling me that the operator was saying, "This is the FBI calling."
Oh my.
It was the FBI calling to know, wanted to know if I was his brother, and if so, where is he?
Oh my.
So I said, well, he's going across the country somewhere, and I think I told him about where he had started from, and I had no idea where he was at that time. That's the first and only time I've been called by, and I've subsequently realized I probably shouldn't have told them that information.
Do you have any
Right?
idea why they were hunting for him?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say. But on the other hand, I shouldn't have said anything, right? How could I prove that they were FBI, for one thing?
And I didn't know about it, it didn't worry me in any case.
Whatever it was, it didn't seem to cause a major problem.
No. Well, it's now 5 o'clock.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and appreciate it. We've got a lot of good
Well,
stories.
we got up to World War II, almost.
Yeah.
Almost. That's good progress.
Pretty good.
I just want to
Well, we're going to go to dinner. What do we want to do after dinner?
come back here. If you'd like to do some more taping, we can, or if you,
Want to go back here?
yeah, we can. If you all are tired of taping, we can do something else. But
We can all go one car, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how to get there?
Yeah.
You could direct me and I'll drive.
I'm going to.
Okay. We have half a tank of gas, so that's enough. We have half a tank of gas, so that's enough.
That was enough.
I want to look into this tape. I read an article one time that says that you should show pictures of all the people whose voices appear in the tape.
Oh,
Otherwise, the audience has this impression that there are things happening that they don't know about. So
Oh,
I just
yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
show up in the picture.
Okay.
So that's it. I think I've got
Okay.
everybody else. Okay.
wonderful.
Now,
Well, I think